the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and Tavallaey. On today's show, we will react to the Serie A weekend matches. The big story of the weekend was Atalanta's incredible 3-0 win at Serie A leaders Napoli after what can only be described as a tactical masterclass by Gian Piero Gasperini and a stunning individual performance as well from Ademola Lookman. That sets up a fascinating match this weekend between Inter and Napoli after Inter survived an almighty late scare as they beat Venezia 1-0. Juventus ended their bad run of form and kept a clean sheet with a 2-0 win at Udinese. Milan also responded to their defeat against Napoli by beating Monza in a controversial game. But the Rafael Leao and Paulo Fonseca war worsens as Leao is benched for a third straight game. There are reports that Leao now wants to leave Milan in January unless Fonseca is sacked. Ivan Juric is at risk of the sack himself as Roma lose at Verona, while Fiorentina's incredible form goes on as they win yet again. We'll also preview the midweek Champions League matches with some huge games, including Inter against Arsenal and Real Madrid against Milan. And we'll have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month, plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. The link's in the description. It's the same price and terms. And for all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple, and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, follow and a like. And also, please do subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We've just moved on to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we only really started posting on there properly early this year. So please do subscribe to us there. We do content there that you won't find elsewhere. Okay, let's get into today's show. So we'll start off with a big game of the weekend, the Sunday lunchtime kickoff between Napoli and Atalanta at the Maradona. And it was something of a tactical masterclass from Gian Piero Gasperini. Atalanta dominate and win 3-0. And I want to start off this show, Nima, by just singing the praises of Gasperini. What a genius this guy is. This guy, it's about time now that this guy, not just in Italy, but globally, universally, gets the credit that he deserves, because I don't know any manager in the world who would come into this game playing the league leaders, Napoli, who are on incredible form going into this match, already opened up a lead at the top of the table, had only conceded 2 goals in their last 8 games, and they would go there and Gasperini would drop the Serie A's top scorer, Matteo Retegui, to play a false 9 system. I don't know any manager who would come up or would have the bravery to do that. And not only do that, but then execute it so brilliantly. Tactically outclassed Antonio Conte in this game, took him completely by surprise. And Atalanta go on and they completely dominate this match and they win 3-0. So it's about time that we give Gasperini the credit that he deserves.
Well, I think we've already have done that, at least on this podcast, haven't we? I mean, what he did, winning a European trophy with Atalanta, is truly unbelievable. A small provincial side in the north of Italy, winning, beating Bayer Leverkusen, the unbeaten German double champions that season, was truly his greatest managerial accomplishment. But what we saw against Napoli was a mature Gasperini, tactically, in the sense that he didn't usually in the past, he would have probably pushed on a little bit too high. He would have played into, he lacked what Italians say cynicism when playing big games. But here he was perfect. He knew that by playing a false nine and packing the midfield centrally, he could easily bypass Napoli's press, because of his teams, because of the players that he plays are always so mobile, they're so dynamic, they don't stand still, and basically nullifying Napoli, knowing their weaknesses, playing around them, playing past them, positional changes, and also above all defensively, understanding that he needed to defend deeper than he usually does, which allowed someone like Isak Hien to completely shine. Because for me, after Lookman, he was the man of the match. Completely nullified Lukaku, completely erased him. There are
Physically
reasons,
as well, I would say.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
not many players can physically
yeah, but that
handle
was,
him.
but that's the thing though. Like if you defend, that's the thing with Hien. If you defend deep and you are able to kind of pack the area, Hien is actually very good at pushing above and annoying his striker. It's when he has to, when you attack him, when he's got space behind him or around him rather, he struggles. But this was a perfect example of what Conte usually does well, and that is, playing to your strengths and to your opposition's weaknesses. Gasperini executed it perfectly. Everything about this game had the hallmarks of a team that, well, I mean, usually when you play like this, you're a Scudetto contender in big matches. Um, I don't think we can say that about Atalanta.
Yeah, well, I want to come on to that after. I want to ask
But I
you.
do want to say that they showed a tactical and maturity, a tactical intelligence, executing everything, working as a unit. There's so many that I think were outstanding in this game.
Well, just saying on the tactical stuff before we move on to the individuals. I mean, on this false nine, I think it was genius because what the Napoli defenders under Conte have been so good at is kind of one-on-one defending, man marking, defending their area really, really well, and being great defending. Just the old-fashioned style defending. That's what I think Buongiorno is at his best doing. He's a brilliant old-fashioned defender, like defending his box. Brakmani has kind of got back to his Scudetto season levels this season, defending that, being that kind of defender as well. That for the centre backs especially, that's what they're good at. But what Gasperini did in this game is by not playing Retegui, is he basically removed those strengths away from the Napoli centre backs because he gave them no reference points. He had a false nine, Charles de Ketelaere, on paper, who was coming deep, he was roaming around, he was moving those defenders, those centre backs around as well. And then Lookman was able to roam as well and make use of the space. And of course, Lookman scored two goals. The first goal was absolutely fantastic finish. And then also Pasalic as well was getting into areas. If he'd have finished better, he would have scored as well. So like Gasperini was just that. I mean, the idea was executed fantastically, and really the likes of Buongiorno, who actually was probably one of the players, that few Napoli players that actually did okay on the day. They were just kind of lost. They had no one to mark, and as a result, Napoli had no answer. No answers for them. And I just think that Gasperini, like what he has done this year in 2024, is he has outcoached this year, Xabi Alonso in the final against Bayer Leverkusen. They won 3-0. Jurgen Klopp at Anfield, 3-0. Ruben Amorim, not just in the knockout stages of the Europa League on the way to their victory, but also in the group stages, dating back to the first half of last season, and now Antonio Conte. So he has tactically outcoached probably four of the top 10 coaches in world football. I think we'd put all of those four coaches in the top 10 of football, and including Xabi Alonso and Ruben Amorim, two of the coaches who are considered like the best of the new generation.
Yeah.
And he's outcoached them, just outclassed them. I mean, Xabi Alonso even said that after the game. He says, I was outcoached by Gasperini. So I mean, the crazy thing is that you've got Ruben Amorim, who's just taken over as Manchester United manager now. You've got Xabi Alonso, who I think everybody knows will go to one of the Europe super clubs at the end of this season. You've got Jurgen Klopp, who's been and Antonio Conte have been the probably top 3, top 5 managers consistently in the world for the last 10 years. He's outcoached all of them. Now, all of these coaches get big jobs, get linked to big jobs all the time. Gasperini never does. And we know part of the reason why that is. But, it's now, I think it's about time that everybody in the world acknowledges that this is a world-class coach, because he's wiped the floor with these world-class managers this year.
For sure. Absolutely. No, he is. I mean, right now he's coming into his own. He's at the club where he should be, and he's in the environment he should be, and it's working, and he's performing these miracles. I mean, given his age and where he is, and the character he is, and how what kind of a person he is, I think I'm happy that he's in Atalanta, and I hope he stays there, and I hope honestly that he is rewarded with the Italy job after Spalletti, because I think Spalletti will leave after the World Cup. And
I just think he'll be too old then. That's the problem. I mean, he's 66 now, Gasperini. Yeah. So by the time of the World Cup, he'll be 60, 68. I mean, the 70 by the time of the tournament, it'll be 70 that he'll be at. I just think. I think he's probably missed his chance.
The World Cup is in 2 years.
Yeah, but after the World Cup, he'll be 68, and by the time the tournament, the Euros come along, in which he's coaching at, if he took the job, Gasperini, he'd be 70 at the time of the tournament that he's coaching at. I think he's probably missed his chance, to be honest. But that's okay.
No, I don't think so. I think when 70, I mean, it's the breaking point. But if he wants it, I think he should get it. I think he deserves it. But because what he does is truly, he's done so much for Italian football, and he's done so much with this tiny little club from the north that it's truly remarkable to see, and I think it would be a nice way to pay tribute to him. I think he was really, really outstanding, and again, just look at all the players that he develops and improves. Lookman, what was it? It was a flop from the Premier League when he came.
Unbelievable! What a player! Can we talk about Lookman? Yeah. What a player! I mean, what a performance again! I mean, that first goal was a world-class finish. That wasn't an easy finish. When the ball drops on you, especially on your weaker left foot, that's a really hard skill. The technique that he showed with his weaker foot to score that, and then the second goal, okay, it's bad goalkeeping from Barrett, but it's a great long shot. I mean, Di Lorenzo, he destroyed him in this game. He destroyed Di Lorenzo after. We were talking about Di Lorenzo being back to kind of his level.
Well, no, what we said was that he had returned to form, but he's not the same Di Lorenzo as he was 2 years ago, and I maintain that.
Well, Lookman right now is in 2024 he has the most goal contributions in Serie A now. He has 16 goals, 11 assists now after the game against Napoli.
Yeah, this calendar year, in all competitions in the Serie A or among Serie A players. Yeah, he's outstanding. Yeah. Now, he was outstanding. And I mean, the way that he's unlocked and improved Lookman, Hian, Retegui, De Ketteler. I mean, it's just all of them. Ederson. All of these guys, the way that they all improve.
Oh my God, Ederson was a monster in this game.
Yeah, complete. I mean, they all did. He knows how to get the best, improve players and play them in the right system to their advantage. I mean, that's why a lot of people were talking about, should you even buy players from Atalanta because he's so good at getting them to look better, so good in a specific system, because he knows how to do that. And that to me is one of the hallmarks of a great coach. Remember how awesome Cristante was at Atalanta? I mean, it's like Cristante is a very meaty player, but under Atalanta, he looked fantastic. Like again, like this is what Gasperini does time and time and time and time again. But I think that when it comes to Retegui, this is no longer just a flash in the pan. Like the way that he plays, the hold up, the link up, the movement, the finishing, the aerial prowess. This isn't just form. It's been 3 months now, 2-3 months. This is a salto di qualità. He's taken a step in quality. Because it's just, even when he's benched in a big game, which you'd expect a player to maybe sulk or anything, but he comes on, does the most natural thing in the world, does what he's done all season. 11 goals now in 11 games.
That was a lethal finish as well, by the way. That was barely a half chance, and barely a sniff, and just bang, first time, didn't even think about it, found the bottom corner. He's come in, he's only just come on, he's cold, he's so lethal. He is a killer. He is such a killer. He is. And those comparisons to Gabriel Batistuta, which look, he's not Batistuta. He's never going to be Batistuta. Batistuta's one of the greatest number 9s of all time. But he does have that Batistuta in him of the lethal first time finish, where he doesn't even think about it. He just bang, he hits it. He hits it hard, and he gets it on target, and he finds the corners and the bottom corners. And I mean, he has such a great shot on him, such a great connection, and he hits the ball so early, which any goalkeeper will tell you. If a striker hits the ball early, it means that the goalkeeper can't get set. They can't get their feet set, and it makes it very, very difficult. Because when a goalkeeper has his feet set, he's ready to make the dive. When he hasn't got his feet set, he loses half a second, and that's often lethal for the goalie. And that's kind of, again, what kind of happened on this goal. The ball come in, bang, you hit it without even thinking. Yeah, amazing performance. Great for Italy as well.
No, that's the thing, though. Like that's what I was going to say. We're talking about someone who could perhaps, like now, he is the undoubted starter for Italy, as the number 9. Like they have to, yeah, they have to start. They have to, they have to build around him now, because there's no one else who is going to like. I don't see anyone.
Well, there's only Scamacca if he can return from his ACL.
But
He's the only one, like, potentially, that can challenge him. There isn't anybody else, because we know that we don't have any options, but it doesn't matter. I mean, he's that good.
Yeah, but the thing with Scamacca is, I mean, we saw last year the difference between Retegui and Scamacca in mentality. The difference between, I mean, the talent, I think Scamacca is an unbelievable talent. I think he's technically much more gifted player than Retegui. But Retegui has got the right attitude. He's got the right mentality to succeed. And Scamacca is still a little bit, if you remember, he was in fantastic form, but we just didn't see the movement. He didn't do what he needed to do. And Gasperini was very vocal about that. Now with Retegui, I mean, again, benched in this game, comes on, decides it, kills it, puts it beyond doubt. And he does so doing exactly what he needed to do and interpreting the game in the right way. That's what I'm talking about, right mentality. Having your headspace in the right place and all that. But no, it's they're doing fantastically well. And I think Atalanta in the Champions League is going to be such an interesting watch, because they've been a bit unlucky. The games they've drawn, they should have won. So I don't think anyone wants to play Atalanta.
Well, talking about Champions League, let's talk about the Scudetto, because Gasperini was asked at the end of the match about their Scudetto hopes, and he played it down, which I think is the right thing to do. But we got to remember that they've hit a good run of form now, 5 Serie A wins in a row, and they've suddenly, from a position of which they didn't look very good, because we forget they started the season really badly. They're now only 3 points behind Napoli at the top of the table, and Napoli play Inter this weekend at San Siro, where you'd probably put your money on Napoli at least dropping points there. So, I mean, they're right in there in terms of points. I mean, personally, I go back to what I said at the start. I still feel like they lack depth at centre midfield and centre forward. They showed in this game that they could win without Retegui playing as a centre forward, which is a great sign. But I think over the long term, you still need. This is a very particular game where you're playing against a top team and you carry out a tactical plan. You need. I think they still need a proper alternative number 9 to Retegui this season. Otherwise, there is the risk of Retegui kind of burning out, tiring out. But also at centre midfield, the lack of alternative. And we saw Ederson in this game was an absolute monster. You can't play Ederson twice a week for the entire season, which is basically what they're doing. He's gonna get tired, and then if he gets an injury or something, I still feel like they lack depth there. I actually think everywhere else they've actually got pretty good depth. I mean, their attacking midfield positions, they've got lots of options. I mean, Samandzic is coming on quite nicely now as well. Wing back, they've got pretty good options. The defence has always been throughout this Gasperini era. Has always been a kind of on paper, individually, a bit of a weak point. So I mean, that is an issue, but I still think they're probably a little bit short, but I love the fact that they're right in there with the race, and I really hope that they can launch a challenge, because there's nothing that would delight me more than to see Atalanta actually go on and win the Scudetto. It would be a beautiful fairy tale, beautiful story.
I think you absolutely.
But can they really challenge for the Scudetto over the long run of the season?
I think the answer to that lay in how Inter and Napoli play, and Juve, who are the main principal challengers, because they are the ones who can they go on a run? Can they run away with it? Because I think Atalanta is going to drop points here and there. Yes, they have depth, but they're also in the Champions League. They're going to be in the Super Cup. They're in the Coppa Italia. Like it's a lot of games and a lot of tournaments and a lot of traveling for them. So I think from my default setting would be no, I don't think they can. But if there is an opening in the others who are also in other competitions, just as many competitions, if not more, then there is absolutely an opening if the stars align for Atalanta to kind of sneak in behind.
I think one thing though that definitely I think they're proving now is that when it comes to playing against big teams, they can take scalps, and they've had some bad results. I mean, Inter have thrashed them twice this year. Even good old Allegri out coached Gasperini in that final. And beat
I was
them.
I was thinking, should I say something?
I thought I'd say it before you say it.
I was going to say he's coached everyone except for Simone, who spanked him, and good old Max.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like look how many big scalps they've had this year. Liverpool, these big
Max Allegri enters the chat.
Liverpool, Leverkusen, Napoli. I mean, they're against the big teams. And I think they've got that experience as well now. They can handle the big occasions. Like if it actually went into, say they are there in April, May, and there's a big Scudetto match,
I don't think they're going to choke.
They're not going to choke. No, they can handle the occasions. They've got that experience. I mean, winning the Europa League and winning these big European matches help. But even in the Champions League, when they played against Arsenal this season, they played like the experienced bosses in that game. Okay, it was a draw, and they didn't create loads in that game. They probably just about deserved to win, but they dominated.
No, they deserved to win that game.
Dominated the possession and the territory. And Arsenal were playing, Arteta Yahoo ball, as one of our patrons calls it now. It was they were the bosses. So they are, I think they can handle it, and I think that can serve them well if they are still there or thereabouts going into the the business end of the season.
No, I agree. No, they I'm not worried about the psychology of it. I'm just thinking, can they maintain until the end? And I'm not sure they can when they're competing on four fronts.
No, they probably need, like you said, they probably need the others to. They probably need like the winning Scudetto points tally to be a little bit lower, maybe.
Yeah,
You
around
know,
80 to 85 points.
yeah.
That's where I think then they can mount a challenge and win. But if it's anywhere above 84, I think it'll be difficult for them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Napoli then, because this came as I mean, it shouldn't be a massive shock, but it did come in as a shock, the manner of the defeat, because Napoli had been so good since that defeat to Verona in the first game of the season. They had 8 clean sheets in 10 games, 2 conceded, and they'd gone on this great run, and obviously beaten Milan earlier in the week. And then this game, they were, let's be honest, they were dominated. It was a deserved defeat, and I think that it all started with that Gasperini tactical change. That it really did catch Conte by surprise. It prepared this match meticulously in a certain way, expecting Retegui to start, and he was taken by complete surprise. It came out of nowhere. No one predicted. Everybody expected Retegui to start, and I think it shocked them. It shocked them, I
Yeah,
think.
but I'm not at all happy with, and I'm sure Conte was fuming at half time. Napoli's lack of intensity, Napoli's lack of tempo, Napoli's complete lack of fire under their bellies. The way that they play Conte, this Conte Napoli, when they're at their best, is when he's got them all fired up. They were cocky. They were a little bit arrogant in their approach, especially in the first half. Simple, unforced errors, a bit blasé and a bit, lackadaisical about how they approached this. Not as he didn't play like a cohesive unit like they did against Milan and other games. I think this was a little bit of they were a little bit too arrogant and full of themselves after having beaten Milan and being praised and all of that. That I think it got to them a little bit to their head. And it's Naples. This is what happens. I mean, this is what Spalletti had to deal with when he was there. Like, to keep being able to maintain and keep the expectations in check, because there's few cities in the world that can swerve off into the atmosphere when things are going well, and equally when things aren't going well. They can, things. It's a city of two extremes always. Everything is either heaven or hell. It's a cultural thing, and Conte knows this. Being from the south of Italy, he has to be able to balance these expectations out, and I think he prepared well tactically. The problem was that when Atalanta played the way they did, and they pulled that kind of surprise towards him, Napoli got nervous. And when they got nervous, they started second guessing and questioning themselves. And I think Conte then didn't really have a reply to this. Although I think in the second half, Napoli were much, much better. They ran more, they fought more, they moved more like a team. And regardless, Atalanta were just better on the day. But I don't expect Napoli to behave this way going forward. I think this was a come crashing down to earth kind of a game for this Napoli side, that they realize, and Conte will love this, that nothing comes for free. You have to work hard until you cross that finish line, and until you cross that finish line, nothing else matters. So this is the kind of loss that he will use towards when communicating with the team to fire them up again. Now he has a week to do that against Inter of all people. So it's going to be quite the clash at the San Siro.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
just
I'm
think,
surprised by Napoli. I am surprised by Napoli, how Napoli behaved in this game, especially in the first half,
yeah,
in a
I
negative
think,
way.
yeah, I just think that they were outplayed in all 3 departments. Defensively, this wasn't the Napoli defense that has kept 8 clean sheets in the last 10 games. This was a Napoli defense that never looked comfortable defending in this game, and we the Oliveira's defending for the first goal. Basic defending, heads instead of heading the ball out to the side from a cross, he heads it straight into the center, into the middle, onto the edge of the area. Then the ball comes back in, and it's not defended particularly well. Falls to Lookman, and he finishes it great. So that's on Oliveira. then the second goal, Meret, I mean, that's just awful goalkeeping. You know, you can't, you got to make those saves. I mean, it's a good shot, it's a powerful shot, but it's a save that any, top flight goalkeeper should be saving comfortably. And then Di Lorenzo was terrorized by Lookman from the whole game. He Di Lorenzo showed that even though he's been playing well this season in terms of playing in a unit, that's what Conte does. 1-on-1, he struggles. He's never been a strong point. For me, he's never smelt danger. He's never got tight enough to his to wingers when they've run at him, when they've tried to put crosses in. That's been an issue that I've had with him his whole career. He never gets tight enough. He's always too standoffish on wingers and on players. But more so now that he's getting older, he's 31 now. When top wingers run at him, they beat him. They go past him. We saw that obviously at the Euros when the likes of Nico Williams and others were going past him so easily, like not even having to do skills, just running past him. And that's the issue with Di Lorenzo. Like if he is isolated, or if players just get to run at him 1-on-1, even there isn't a double up on him, he gets beaten, he gets taken on. And Lookman was going inside, he was going outside, and that's a problem. And that is, while we say Retegui is a great positive for Italy, this is something that still concerns me about Di Lorenzo. Thinking for the Italy national team as well. I mean, in a back three, maybe that won't be so much of a problem. In a back three, he might not get isolated and have players running at him 1-on-1 as much. But even still, it does concern me, and that was something else. And then, as I said before, the two centre backs, weren't able to use their strengths in this game. So the defence wasn't good.
No, Buongiorno struggled individually, which I thought was a bit strange. And he has done it like 2 games in a row. Against Milan, he was lucky that the correct calls, went in their favor, but he made 2 mistakes and he was bailed out. Here he got burnt. And I think that, and I'm starting to think that maybe Conte needs to be, even though, we know that Conte likes to, he's playing with a back 4. I'm thinking he should really, really start considering being able to adapt, to change, to interchange in games. I think in this game, he should have played a 3-5-2, straight up 3-5-2, just for this game against Gasperini. But he didn't. And I hope he learns that from a Napoli perspective, that, you have to be able to adapt to certain games. You can't just, this is the system, this is the formation. You have to be a little bit more fluid, and you have to be a little bit more adaptable in one-off games.
Maybe in game, when he could see that it wasn't working, and I thought the midfield as well. They didn't. I mean, they got dominated. Ederson and Darun. I mean, Ederson especially. Ederson's an amazing midfielder. He's incredible. But he was. Anguissa's been great this season, but he was awful here. It's as bad as I've ever seen Anguissa play. And Gilmour was overran as well. I mean, Lobotka was definitely missed in this kind of game because, Anguissa's great. I mean, McTominay, he was pretty decent in this game. He hit the post. But, McTominay, Anguissa, they're not the kind of players that are going to dominate the ball, dominate and control the midfield, ball possession, and dictate the play. And so that is where Lobotka is crucial, especially against the big teams, because otherwise you risk, against the better teams, you risk really being completely dominated in midfield if you don't have Lobotka there. Gilmour is that kind of player, but he's obviously not way off the level of a Lobotka here. And he also shares the kind of physical deficiencies that Lobotka does. He's quite short. He's not, going to cover the ground and run, and he's not the fastest. So when you don't have that as well, so I think that could be a potential weakness. That's why Lobotka is really, really important for Napoli this season. You need to be able to control games in midfield as well. You can't just keep playing the kind of football that, and even against Milan, I thought Milan were dominating midfield in that game, and Napoli were fine, they deserved the win, but eventually you can't do that every single game, especially when you're playing twice a week. because you get tired. And we know that's been a Conte problem throughout his career, that when his teams play once a week, they're absolutely fantastic. But when they play twice a week, they can't match. They can't have that level of intensity and the way that Conte sets up the team and drills them and prepares them when we've only got a few days to prepare rather than a week to prepare. And again, we saw that in this game. So if you've got midfields that can control the ball and dominate, it takes the edge off that tiredness when you can control the game. And Napoli were never able to do that in this game because they didn't have Lobotka and they weren't able to do it. So I think overall they were dominating all departments and in attack as well. I mean, what chances did they create in this game? Nothing. They didn't create
nothing.
anything.
They
Nothing big.
No, they nullified them. Except for that shot from McTominay in the first half, it was really nothing there. And yeah, okay, Rahmani, good cross, poor finish, poor header. No, they didn't really
play nothing at all. Yeah,
and then it's like Kvara was invisible, Lukaku was nullified. No, it was a complete.
Lukaku's a little bit of a concern with Lukaku. I mean, he was really, really good against Milan, but that came after probably about a month of really poor, lethargic performances. And then he was great against Milan. Let's not take anything away. He looked like he looked really good, and but in this game he was really, really bad. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a concern there on Lukaku. Like
but luckily they won't play many times more than once a week.
No,
that's what speaks in their favor, and that's why they're still top of the league, and that's what's so important for Conte. His teams are good at bouncing back from defeats. They don't collapse. And I fear for Inter.
Well, it sets up the Inter game this Saturday. Is it Saturday, the Inter game?
I think so.
Or was it Sunday? Well, anyway, this weekend, the big Inter versus Napoli game at the top of Serie A.
It's a Sunday night game.
First against second. Only 1 point now separates the team. So Inter can go top if they win the game. But Inter just about escape what would have been a catastrophic draw in injury time. Venezia equalised. The goal was disallowed for a handball. The last kick of the game, actually, for a handball, which was the right call. But Inter, they almost threw this one away. They missed so many chances in this game. It's actually crazy, like how bad they were with their finishing. How sloppy.
Not just the finishing, it's the approach. It's not you can't be this arrogant and continue to get away with it. And they've done it so many times this season, and they got burnt against Genoa, they got burnt against Monza. This needs to stop. This thing they do where they're so convinced of how awesome they are that they feel that everyone else should also know how awesome they are, and so they should just let Inter win. You can't do that, and we've seen them drop points as a result of it. I mean, against Juve, for example, they had the game for the taking, and they didn't get the game over the finish line. And we saw it against Genoa. We saw it. I mean, it's annoying. I mean, it's great that they won despite not playing well, and that's something we have to acknowledge. Since the Derby defeat, they have 7 wins and 1 draw. That's outstanding, results wise. But if I look at this Inter this season, I can only think of 2 games where Inter have actually played well. One is against Atalanta, where they dismantled Atalanta, and the other one is against Manchester City, against qualified opposition. Other than that, it's been very dry, dreary, devoid of energy, lack of tempo. They look cooked physically. They look mentally tired. You can't just, right now, I'll put it down in my notes. In this, like the first goal that was the goal that was disallowed for that toe offside of Di Marco, that was the first time that Inter built the way that we're used to seeing them build from the back. That came like in the 59th minute or something. You can't do that. You just cannot do that. You can't keep doing this. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Sooner or later, you're going to get burnt. And of course, luck goes both ways. A toe offside for the goal that was disallowed, the penalty that wasn't because of an offside, but for a handball. Correct calls, but so that's a bit unlucky. but they were lucky that the ball bounced on what's his name's arm for the equalizer, and that's why I tweeted out Venezia going to equalize at the end. It was the most obvious outcome in the world. And how passive they were as well, because it's one thing to defend a lead, but you do it in an aggressive way. But Inter weren't aggressive in this game. They didn't impose themselves in this game the way that we're used to seeing them doing. They weren't assertive. They were lackadaisical. They were a bit reactive, and Sommer had to make a couple of great saves.
Well,
In order
actually,
to
the
beat
first
them.
one, that Oristano missed was, I mean, that's an open goal, basically. I mean, it's unbelievable how he missed that, how he missed that chance. He had the whole goal to put it in, and he shot it too centrally. Otherwise, yeah, they could have gone down before half time, and then all of a sudden, who knows what could have happened. But
I'll tell you what I mean about the arrogance. I think that was best exemplified by Marcus Thuram in this game. Not doing what he did early on in the season when he made the right decisions without getting too greedy and too selfish. He was so selfish, and when he did play the right pass, the quality was lacking. That's the kind of arrogance that I feel that is a little bit, all over. That's just shows where Inter are mentally right now. They continue to win. Again, 7 wins since Derby defeat, 1 draw. Those are fantastic results, right? But they haven't played well this season. And now they've got Arsenal and Napoli. And thank God Çalhanoğlu is back. He is so important for Inter. You just saw when he came on, he provides calm, but he's not 90-minute fit, and he's going to have to come off. He can't play 90 minutes against Arsenal or Napoli, or they risk injuring him again. So they've got 2 crunch games coming up. They're not really in very good form in terms of how they play. Results-wise, they are, but they have been riding their luck in games a little bit. And it's not good. Inter need to be more resolute. They need to finish these games off. They need to be more assertive. And I think to some extent that's kind of why you could sense the irritation from Inzaghi, Mkhitaryan, De Vrij, Lautaro, and that calms me from an Inter perspective, because they're aware of it and they want to do something about it. And that's good, because if they had come out there and been, oh great, we won, you can't always play well, that's football, that usual nonsense, that would have annoyed me and worried me. But they weren't. They were annoyed that they didn't kill off games, that they seemed to become passive as the game wars on and be led into some sort of false sense of security, which again is exemplified by what I've said since day one of this season on this pod, that Inter have this ridiculous thing they do this season, where they seem to just fall into the rhythm of the opposition. They allow the opposition to they get lulled into their game plan and how they want to play, as opposed to imposing themselves. That's what I mean about the assertiveness. Inter lack that this season. Last season, Inter went out there, it didn't matter who it was, they played their game, they won the game, it was finished. Even tight games, you weren't worried. There was a very clear way that Inter took on games. They didn't do that this season for various reasons. But as long as the results go their way, you can't really complain. But for me, I'm looking a little bit, well, you can't always count on winning 1-0. You need to kill off games, especially in big games like against Juve. That was a perfect example. That was a big warning sign. But yeah, I mean, well, it's a worry. But I mean, at some point, and on the flip side, you play poorly and you win. That's a sign of strength as
yeah,
well.
for sure. Let's move on to Juventus, who get a crucial win themselves. They react to their very bad run of form and their very bad run of conceding goals. Important win, 2-0. Solid performance, clean sheet. First half performance I thought was pretty good from Juventus. Second half, not particularly great, but they saw the game out. I think that the big lessons I draw from this performance in terms of positives, Khephren Thuram was outstanding in
He's
this
so
game.
good.
This was a very powerful, dominating performance where he didn't get the first goal because he shot it hit the post, then came off Okoye's back and went in. But I mean, it's as good as let's give him the
The
goal.
nutmeg he did in the build-up was just, I mean, everything about him. Now, this was a game where Khephren Thuram showed why he will be so useful for Juve. I thought he was very, very good. And he's coming into form, and Juve need him to come into form.
Well, Motta said that at full time, he said it was a very complete performance, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good way of describing it. I mean, if you look
This
at
was
he
this was
won
a
the ball,
return.
and then he made that driving run, and he even said that Pogba is kind of his idol, and you saw a little bit of. I mean, Pogba obviously technically is a far superior player, and Thuram is probably better defensively and more disciplined, but you can see that powerful stature. He's going to be, he's going to be very, very good. I think he's going to be very good for Juventus
No, me too.
in the
No
long
doubt.
run. He's still young, but once he develops and everything, I think he showed what how useful he is. Yildiz started, which was the right decision from Motta, and he was involved in some important plays. I mean, he did the pass to Thuram for the first goal. He hit the post in the build up to Savona scoring the rebound. He went on one really, really good run in the second half when Vlahovic had the chance to make it 3-0. So I thought that Yildiz was probably, like, his overall performance wasn't amazing, but he was decisive. Like, he had decisive moments, and that's what we need to see more from Yildiz consistently. Because his numbers, taking away the Inter game, his numbers this season are actually pretty poor for a left winger, for an outside forward. We need more goals. We need more assists. We need more decisive goal contributions or decisive actions leading to goals in game, and we had that from Yildiz. So that was good. But what I liked about Juventus, I think the most in this game, is that we saw, like we did at the start of the season, we saw a midfield that was completely controlling the game, kind of like 60 to 70% possession for most of the game. And that by doing that, Juventus then limit the pressure on the defense, and the defense isn't open. The defense isn't as vulnerable as it has been during this really bad run of conceding goals. And at the start of the season, Juventus were controlling the midfield. They were completely dominating the midfield. And while that led to some sterile football, and it occasionally led to Juventus looking like they're never even going to create a chance in the game, let alone score a goal, it at least meant that they were dominating the game and the opposition couldn't lay a glove on them because they couldn't get the ball off them and they couldn't get into areas. And what we had in this game, certainly in the first half and probably up until kind of like the last 20 minutes, is we had a Juventus that were completely in control of the ball all the time, and they were just Udinese just couldn't break through that midfield because that midfield were controlling the game so much. And it's no coincidence for me that this occurred at a time when Weston McKennie, who has been useful in terms of contributions for goals and even assists this season, Weston McKennie doesn't start in this game, and as a result, Juventus completely control the game. The short game is really good, the passing is really good, and this is why I don't want Weston McKennie to start for Juventus, because when Weston McKennie plays, you automatically lose control or lose more control of the midfield. And as soon as McKennie came on in the second half, the final quarter, all of a sudden Juventus lose control of the midfield. Udinese start taking over. They start pushing for a goal. Luca hit the bar, and although Udinese didn't exactly look like they were going to come back and get a point out of this game, they were looking threatening. And I think that Juventus need to focus on their strengths. Now, their strengths are they've got a lot of really, really quality central midfielders that can dominate the game, can control the game, play those midfielders. McKennie, if you want to use McKennie, use him as a second half substitute. If the game is sterile and you need a goal, bring him on when the tactical nature of the game changes and it's more open and he can come on and offer a goal threat from midfield. But they don't
But
need him.
McKennie is Juve's Fratesi. that's how they should use him, in the sense that if you want to control games in midfield, you don't play Fratesi, you don't play Weston McKennie. It's when you want to score late on, when you want a dynamic run, when you want someone to offer a goal threat from deep, then you bring them on. I think that I think your read of the game is pretty much the same as mine. I just want to say that this was a return to exactly like you said, the Juve that we saw in the beginning of the season. Controlled, composed,
Yeah.
pragmatic, calm, day at the office kind of
And
win.
can I just add on
Where
that?
Juventus didn't risk anything.
Yeah, and can I just add on that McKennie point that you make, which I agree on completely, is that Juventus Motta doesn't need him in order to bring that goal threat and to bring that physicality, which he was kind of using him, which is why he kind of started introducing him, because they've got Thuram to bring the physicality, and we've shown that. I mean, he's such a powerhouse physically. Thuram, so they don't need him to bring that physicality in midfield because they've got Thuram. And they don't need him to bring that goal threat because Koopmeiners, that's what he's there for. I mean, it's a bit frustrating that Koopmeiners still hasn't scored this season, and he should have scored at the end. He had a big chance. And that was probably the one frustration, because that would have removed that kind of millstone off his neck, and that he would have, it would have cut, relaxed him, and got him on the score sheet, and got him going. But he still hasn't got that. I'm sure it will come. He just needs to stay fit, get a run of games, get his rhythm going fully, and then Koopmeiners will be the midfielder that brings the goals. And so they don't need McKennie. I just feel that you play McKennie, who and you see what we've kind of seen from Juventus in recent games, in which the midfield is more open, it doesn't control the game so much, it's just a little bit more chaotic, and you give the ball away. I mean, the way that Juventus gave the ball away in the game against Parma was horrendous. So that is why that's my point. But yeah, like you said, defense was pretty comfortable in this game. No Danilo, which obviously is was probably played a part in that. He did come on though for the last 10 minutes, which coincided again when Juventus was starting to struggle. But yeah, I don't want Danilo to play at all. Even for 10 minutes, if it's at right back, at centre back, I think that Gatti and Kalulu have to be the players that play as much as possible in the centre. If you have to rest one of Gatti and Kalulu, play Cabal there, or like I said last week, retrain a centre midfielder and play there until January. In which case, you then have to buy a centre back, which Giuntoli again confirmed before the match. They have to sign another centre back. But yeah, defence was comfortable. A word of praise for Savona, who came back and
I
played
like him.
and played a
I
really
like
good
him.
game. Second goal of the season
Yeah.
as well. I mean, look, I'd rather play him at right back than have to somehow play Danilo, put it that way. He's actually a good crosser of the ball. His crossing is actually very, very good.
I don't know. I don't like making comparisons, but he's got this kind of, I don't know. He reminds me a little bit like of a young Di Lorenzo. There are certain aspects of his game that reminds me of Di Lorenzo when he was young at Empoli. I like Savona. I really do. I think he's a good player to have, and I like to. I've enjoyed watching his development for Juve this season. It's it's a nice acquaintance, and let's see what he can do and where he can go. I mean, he's far from the finished product. He's still a little bit naive in decisive moments, kind of thing. But it's a great, it's a nice acquaintance to have made, and it's nice to see where he can where his career goes from here, where his trajectory goes from here, and what he can develop into.
Yeah.
Because
One final point on
unfinished
you.
product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. One other final point I want to make about Juventus before we move on to Milan is on Conceição. Now, it's too early for me to say this definitively, but I did find it also, this could be a reason why Juventus looked much more secure defensively, is that Conceição started as a sub in this game. Juventus played Yildiz on the left, Koopmeiners in the middle, and then Weah on the right of the trequartisti. And it did occur to me that Conceição, who's been fantastic, I'm a big fan of him. You do lose something in defensive structure when Conceição plays, and I wonder whether, I said this at the start of the season. The start of the season, Conceição wasn't starting, and Juventus looked really, really good defensively, of course. Then once Conceição started playing, he was playing really fantastically individually. He was their best attack, probably their only good kind of like attacker for a while. Juventus started conceding goals and being more open. I do wonder whether that was also, partly because Conceição isn't as good in the defensive phase and doesn't provide the same kind of defensive coverage that say Gonzalez does, or
He's
even
not as
Weird,
tactically
or even
disciplined in the defensive phase as the other team
yeah,
players are.
which
But
is
he's
why.
also, but he's still very young, and I think Motta will probably try
No.
to.
I'm not saying that he can't. I'm saying that right now. But I'm
No, right
saying
now he
it's
isn't.
no coincidence that he doesn't start, and I think that also maybe plays a bit of a role in Juventus being better in the defensive phase and out of possession. And I think I said at the start of the season, I wonder whether Motta will, once Gonzalez is back and he has everyone back, I wonder whether Conceição becomes used more as a kind of an impact sub, as a last 30-minute player where he's going to be devastating and he's going to run at plays and the game's going to be more open, and the tactical structure of the game in the last 30 minutes when teams and players can't press, they can't run as much, the intensity drops. You don't need players to be to be like that, and so Conceição can come on there, and that's just, I might be wrong. That's just me kind of second guessing the way that Motta's thinking. So I think that could be potentially how we see Conceição this season. Certainly in certain types of games where Juventus need to be a little bit more careful with how many men that they're using, kind of as offensive players they're using.
No, agreed.
Let's move on to Milan, though. This was a very controversial game. The positives for Milan is they win this game 1-0 against Monza, which is absolutely vital, also for Paulo Fonseca after losing so badly to Napoli. Their first away win, real away win of the season, because the Inter game kind of doesn't count really as an away win. But I thought that, I have to be honest, I think Milan are lucky to win this game. I thought the first half, I thought they were really poor. I thought second half they were pretty good. There was more of the kind of solidity that we need to see from Milan going forward. But the first half, they are so lucky. They're so lucky to not be losing at half time. Not only did Monza create, I think at least 2 or 3 big chances. Maldini's missed virtually an unmissable chance, but the disallowed goal as well. And I guess we have to start there, because Nesta is absolutely furious about this. Galliani was furious about this as well. Was the right decision made to disallow the goal?
The problem is not, again, it comes down to the consistency part, because if you're going to give that, you have to do that in all games and all situations. And the problem is that it isn't. We don't see that happening in all games. But so I can't say that the call is wrong, but my issue is then, well, if this is the level, then you have to keep it consistent in all games.
Is there enough contact though for that to be a foul?
Look, I will never criticize players for being furbo. Okay, I think it's part of the game. And Theo is furbo. He's not French. He's Italian. He's a furbo. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he falls in such a way that that referees pick up on it, and they know that they have to, he does it really well. I think Del Piero for me was the master at this. He knew how to fall when and how and in the right situation, so that the referee did not have a choice but to give the foul to him. But whether or not there's enough contact, I don't know. It's, again, to me, it does feel a little bit cheap, but I can't say it's the wrong call, because it was
difficult on the replay to really see.
Well, that's what I mean about the
I don't think the replays were very good for seeing the close up of how much, because for sure there's very little contact. There's no doubt about that, which is what Nesta's not happy about. The only thing I would say in favour of Theo and Milan on this is that it's the kind of touch where when you get clipped on the heels or on the feet like that from behind as you're running across, it only takes the slightest touch to clip the back of the heel or the Achilles tendon, and you will go over. So it's kind of in this situation, if there was a touch that clipped him in such a way that would cause that, it doesn't matter if there's a big touch or a little touch. It's enough of a touch to take the player down, because that's what happens. The question is, though, was he clipped in that way? You know the kind of click I mean. You know where the player's running across and you clip just the kind of the back of or to the side of the heel, and it clips them, and then their foot hits their own other foot, and then they go over. It was unclear from the replays whether that actually happened. So that's why I'm finding it difficult to say. But what I would agree with Nestor on is there's barely any contact, and he's obviously very, very unhappy with the state of modern football. And that was shown by his quotes after the game, where he said they are ruining football. We need to go back to the old style of officiating. What kind of foul is that? Then he says how they sent an apology to Monza after the goal that was chalked off for them against Atalanta. And then he said that football used to be simpler. It used to be a contact sport. Now every tiny touch is penalised. A toenail is offside. You have to go into a challenge with your hands clamped behind your back, or it might be a penalty. I believe that the refereeing must adapt to the sport, not the other way around. The rules must be adapted to football, not the opposite. So I agree with the general point that Nestor's making on that. But it is a difficult one because the replay wasn't. Or what we can say for sure.
This is what I mean about Theo being furbo. Like, he knows how to go down and in a manner to go down. And I think there is an art to going down. I've always maintained that. I think Filippo Inzaghi and Del Piero were masters of this.
What we can say, though, Nima, is this. Milan, whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, Milan are very, very lucky
of course.
to get this decision. And Monza are incredibly unlucky to have two.
They played good in the first
but
half.
to have this happened twice to them now. This happened against Atalanta, where they actually got an apology, so it wasn't actually an acknowledged mistake.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're very unlucky, and I agree. I thought they were really good, and that's why I say Milan are extremely lucky not to be losing at half time, because Monza were the better team in the first half and created, 2 or 3 big chances, and.
Mike Mignon's save, though, was insane.
Wow.
My God.
From Pereira's header.
It's just, what a save. Like, he makes these crazy saves. Like, it's like he has his weaknesses, which you've discussed about the corners and that he sometimes makes mistakes, and like with the bouncy balls and whatever, he reads it wrong. But his reflex saves are out of this world. They're insane. Like, it's just, what a save that was.
Yeah, coming after we were so heavily, or everybody was so heavily critical of him for his performance against Napoli and letting in that goal.
That's what I mean. Like, look, we know that everyone has a weakness. Even if you're a fantastic goalkeeper, you have weaknesses. I mean, they used to famously say that Buffon was weak at penalties and whatnot, and his feet weren't good enough and blah blah blah. But look,
until the end of his career, that he was great at penalties.
I know, but you remember, you know what I mean.
I agree. I used to say it myself.
but Mignon has weaknesses, but his reflex saves are just, it defies science how he manages to react that quickly, and it's not like the ball hits him, he saves it, and there's no time for him to save it, but he does it, and it's so impressive, and he does it time and time again. It's really it's one of those crazy Mignon saves, like big Mike saves. It's just crazy save.
Yeah, well, that's a positive to see Mignon bounce back. I think there's the positive of Reinders, who returned, was sorely missed against Napoli, and he scores again, and he's
Pulisic again involved in the build-up. Like, he's
although I thought Pulisic was pretty disappointing in this game.
He was still involved in the build-up for the goal.
Involved, but he was disappointing in this game. We've been riding. We've been talking.
He's returning from a flu. And,
I mean,
he had the flu midweek, and he had to play.
3 goals in his last 2 games. He set up a Leao chance as well, Reinders. So I think that Reinders is really becoming one of the leaders of this team now.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's the positive, but the negatives are not doing enough. It's still not good enough for Milan. Putting in these kind of performances doesn't convince me that Milan are going to go on some kind of run that can make them, a challenger at the top. They need to play better than this. They can't have first half performances like this. And the second half was better though. They were more solid. Monza didn't really look like doing anything in the second half. So that's something to take from it. But we need to see more. We need to see more from Milan. There's no doubt about that. But the big talking point though is, and we have to talk about this, is Rafael Leao versus Fonseca, because this is a crisis now. This isn't just a caso. This is much bigger than this, for both player and coach and their futures, because this is the third game in a row that Rafael Leao is benched in Serie A. Udinese, Napoli, and Monza, and of course the game that he did start in the Champions League against Club Brugge, he was taken off on the hour mark with a score at 1-1 in a must-win game, a game which if Milan don't win, they're probably going to be out of the Champions League. He comes off, Okafor comes on with his first moment of the game. He makes the goal, the second goal for Milan to go ahead. And the newspapers are now saying, Nima, that there are big problems between the two. They're basically they're not even talking to each other right now. And that Leao is obviously very sad. We've seen that, but there are reports from quite a number of sources, decent sources, that Leao is actually prepared to leave in January. Actually wants to leave in January if Fonseca is still Milan's coach by then. It's basically him or Fonseca. Milan have to make the decision now. It's basically a Ronaldo at Inter versus Cooper. It's, you either
I'm
choose the
not
coach
sure.
or you choose me.
I'm not sure that's true. I have to be honest. I saw these reports and I questioned the veracity of them. I don't think it's like that. I think it's obvious that he's unhappy because he's not playing. And I think Fonseca has been very honest, very clear, very calm, and said there is no personal problems, but I can't be begging players to give their all for the shirt and the team, which is a scathing critique. And Rafael Leao has to learn, unless he wants to end up in Saudi Arabia or the MLS, now he needs to learn to put the team's best ahead of him. If we look at how when he shined at Milan under Pioli, it's because Pioli built the team around him. It was give Rafael Leao tactical freedom, give him freedoms. Sacchi at the time criticized Leao for not working as part of the team, but Pioli mitigated it by allowing Leao creative freedom, by allowing everyone to defend behind him, giving him complete keys to Milan's defense. Here, you resolve it. That's how Pioli handled it. Well, no other coach is going to do that. We're not talking about, you only build around Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And with all due respect to Rafael Leao, he's no Messi and he's no Ronaldo. So regardless of where he goes, regardless of what happens, if Fonseca stays or not, the next coach isn't going to allow him that either. And he shouldn't. I think Fonseca is doing the right thing. I think Fonseca is taking a problem head on, which should have been handled years ago. And now, he becomes kind of the sacrificial lamb. I think Fonseca is doing the right thing. I think Fonseca should not play Rafael Leao as long as Rafael Leao doesn't play for Milan and plays for himself.
Thing is,
Because
though, the problem is, Nima, is I just don't think that Leao has it in him to be able to do that. I don't think he has he doesn't have the desire, for starters, but even if he did have the willingness to do that, I don't think he has the qualities to be able to defend, to be able to have the tactical smarts off the ball, the position, the knowing how to sacrifice for the team. I just don't think he has those qualities. I don't think tactically he has the brains for it, and I just don't think he sees the game that way. He has the pace, and there's no reason why he couldn't press. But there's a way of pressing. There's a way of cutting off the passing lanes. There's the way of of when the ball is in a certain place, you have to move there and you have to move into this position. I just don't think he has it in him, and that's the reason why I don't see if Fonseca is adamant that either Leao is able to be part of the team unit to be able to offer that defensive uh, stability off the ball, out of possession, to work harder, to press, that he's not gonna, unless he does that, he's not gonna be in the team. Well, I don't see him ever coming back into the team. I don't. I don't think he can do it, and I don't think he wants to do it.
Well, if he doesn't want to do it, then Fonseca can't play him. I mean, I think Fonseca's doing the right thing here. You can't, you know, you
Well, then they
need to
need to
have.
sell him because he can't do it. Even if he wants to do it, I don't think he's capable of doing it. I don't think
I think he is capable of doing. I think it's more of an attitude issue. I think it's more about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with him that he can't do it. I think his mentality towards football is wrong, or is the issue here. And I think Milan have let this problem grow for a long time without addressing it, and now Fonseca's being forced to address it, and I think he's handling it the best way possible. You know, he's basically saying it's the team you have. I'm here to build a team, and I don't know anyone who can criticize that. Like, I mean, like seriously, how can you criticize someone for wanting a team and not one
I
individual at
agree.
a time?
It's the only way to really win in modern football as
Yeah,
well.
it really
Generally,
is.
I mean, the exception to that. I mean, you use the examples of Ronaldo and Messi. Well, actually, the last few years of their career, I know they got older. It wasn't working for Messi and Ronaldo
No, of
teams
course it
either.
wasn't. No.
So we can actually remove them. The only example we're actually working in modern football, and even that comes with struggles, is at Real Madrid with Vinicius Junior, because he's that kind of player. He doesn't contribute to the team like last season. And now they've got two of them. They've got Mbappe
Yeah,
and Vinicius Junior, but they're having exactly the same kind of problems at Madrid this season. Barcelona are already racing away with the league title. And if you've watched Madrid this season, they are struggling tactically for the same reasons that we've kind of been criticising Milan as well. Obviously, they can make up for it because they've got more world-class players
quality.
around the team, and they can
Yeah.
kind of make up for that a little bit. But still, they are struggling.
Mm.
Put within their own context of challenging Barcelona. So it is a very,
I
very
think it's
difficult one.
time for Milan to part ways with Leao, or both of them at the end of the season. I think the
The
good
end of the
way,
season. I mean,
yeah, yeah. No, I don't see them selling unless Saudi come with like
well, no, I was
ridiculous
thinking
money.
more Fonseca end of the season.
No. I'm thinking both of them. I
Mm,
think that the way to handle this is to perhaps maybe get rid of both of them.
mm.
Do a Marotta. Get rid
The
of
weird thing is that I think
Paletti. Get rid of Nainggolan. Get rid of Perisic. Get rid
the
of
strange
Icardi.
thing is, though, Nima, I think that Leao will play well against Real Madrid,
Mm,
because Madrid are that kind of team that they don't
100%.
they don't press, they're not that kind of modern team.
No,
That it's important that all your players are structurally, off the ball, and he'll get the spaces. I think Leao will play well against Madrid. I think he'll
I agree.
start. I think he'll start against Madrid, and I think he'll play well. But I don't think it will solve the problem. The problem will remain.
No, the problem will remain, and that's because Milan have let this problem remain, and they've not handled it, and now Fonseca is having to deal with it. But I think he's doing the right thing. I think if you want to build a coherent, cohesive, credible project that's winning, you need to have a team. You can't have players playing for themselves, and it
The
just
only
doesn't work.
comeback I have on that, and I made some notes on this at half time after watching Milan's really put what I thought was a really poor first half performance. But then the kind of quite solid second half kind of waters down this point I'm about to make. And that is that, well, even without Leao, when Leao doesn't play, have Milan shown themselves without Leao to actually be a team, to be enough of a team to warrant not having Leao in the team and not have those moments of brilliance? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
I
what
mean,
you
it's
mean.
still early, so we can say that he's still trying to build that without Leao. So I don't want to write that off now, because I understand that you can't build a team in 3 games, or the number of games he hasn't played this season. But so far, I have not seen enough of Milan without Leao to warrant Milan not playing him. For example, in that first half, I didn't see a Milan at all. I didn't see a Milan that were a team at all. I saw a really poor Milan that created nothing, that still conceded 2 or 3 big chances, and just didn't look like a team. Second half was better though. Do you know what I mean? So they're going to need to. Fonseca's going to need to warrant the team's going to need to play in a way that warrants the exclusion of Leao. Otherwise, you might as well have him in the team. You might as well not be a team, but have Leao be able to provide those moments of genius and those moments of magic. He's still, I think, he's still in the top 2 in Serie A for dribbles and creating chances and stuff like that. So he's still obviously a very, very capable player. That's my issue. That's my it's a difficult one, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's a tricky one where a lot of hard choices have to be made unless Leao gives up this, starts acting, and which doesn't seem very likely because he seems like he views football in a completely different way to how Fonseca and modern football is.
And I think that's sad as well, isn't it? It's sad that we're in a situation where we can't play one of the best or the most talented individuals in the world because he doesn't fit the team system. It's one of the sad things about modern football, isn't it? That these kind of players are being pushed out because they can't play in a do you know what I mean? It's pretty sad, I think.
It's an indictment of what we've talked about, that football is becoming so systematic. It's killing the geniuses. It's killing the creative players. It's killing the technical players, and it is sad. It is very, very sad, and it's an indictment on modern football that has become essentially just runners. Technique is secondary because they want to risk minimize. You want to outrun your players or your opponent. You want to out systemize your. There's no room for the trequartistas anymore. There's no fantasistas in football anymore. And that's killing the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree completely. Let's talk about Roma now, because as we're recording this on Monday, there's going to be a big meeting on Monday to decide again if Ivan Juric will be sacked as manager of Roma. I think it's pretty clear by now that even if he survives this time, he's not going to last much longer. Roma lose 3-2 at Verona. Probably a little bit unlucky to lose this game. Probably deserved a draw, I would say. But still, the point remains that they conceded 3 goals to Verona. It was another performance that just isn't good enough, and the defending especially just shocking in this game. I mean, look at the defending on Zalewski for the first goal. I mean, what is that? Just gives it straight to the Verona striker. The marking on the second goal on Magnani's goal, even if it maybe is a foul, it's still terrible. And then Ndika's defending, who's a player that I really, really like on the third goal. I mean, even Juric, the one thing you would associate with him is good defending, and we're not even getting that from him. So, I mean, what a mess. We're repeating ourselves here, but what a mess Roma are.
I really don't know what else to say, because it's so sad. I was watching this game, and Roma, there's no structure, there's no identity, there's nothing, and it's such a mismatch, Roma and Juric. This Roma squad and Juric is such a mismatch. It's just they're not nothing. There's no they're not. They shouldn't be. Juric should not be at Roma. And you see these mistakes. Zalewski with that pass for the opening goal. It was just, oh my God, what are they doing? And it's stuff like this. The players are just, they don't know what they're doing. There's no structure. There's no order. There's nothing. I don't understand how they ended up here. How do you spend that much money and end up here?
Yeah. No, I called it. I said it before the start of the season. I got a lot of stick for it, but I was never more certain about this, because you just have to look at the players, have a look at the construction of the team, and you can't create and construct a workable formation and system with these players. They just don't fit together, and that's why I've gone easy on Juric. I like Juric. I think he's a good coach. I've never considered him good enough for a big club. I know you rate him higher than me, but I can't be too hard on him for what's going on at Roma, because I just think whichever coach replaces Juric, he's going to get sacked at some point. If it's not today or tomorrow, it's going to happen. He's not going to last. It's clear. It's only a matter of time. Whoever comes in for him, I mean, I would not go anywhere near this Roma job right now with the bunch unless there's some promises are made that we're going to buy these players in January to solve some of the issues in the construction of the team. I mean, they need to go out in January and sign at least one, maybe two wingers for me. They need some wide players in this team. They have to. They need to go to a winger system, bring some wide players, or stick with a 3-5-2 and buy some top wing backs, one or the other. They need to either buy some top wing backs or some top wingers, but they need to put some pace into this team. This team is so slow. It is so damn slow. The only player that brings any kind of pace and drive in this team is Conte, who I actually think has been good. He's actually been a good signing. He's the one signing that I can praise Gazolfi for. I like Conte. I think he's going to be useful for Roma. But there's no pace, there's no width in this team, which is the one thing that kind of identified at the start of the season. What can a manager do with this? I don't care if it's Juric, De Rossi. It's not going to be De Rossi who comes back. That's been pretty much confirmed. But I'm seeing the names that have been linked to the coach. And there's some big names there. There's Roberto Mancini, there's Maurizio Sarri, there's Allegri, there's Frank Lampard. That would be funny. Frank Lampard has, according to Gazzetta, has been suggested to the Friedkins by the people close to Everton, because we know that the Friedkins now are the owners of Everton. And obviously Lampard was at Everton. He was a disaster at Everton.
That would be the only way to make this situation gargantuanly worse would be appointing Frank Lampard as Roma's coach. Like, that's literally, what can we do if you were to go to like AI and ask, what can Roma do to make this situation worse? It is appoint Gary Neville or appoint Frank Lampard. Like, it's stupid. It is an idiotic thing. And of course, Everton suggests that. They have a very good reason to want to do that. But no, Roberto Mancini or Maurizio Sarri is the way they have to go. That's the way they have to go. From what I've understood, Mancini has said that he's willing to discuss it. He hasn't said he wants it. He said he's willing to discuss it. I think he wants to wait. I think Mancini's looking at Milan. I think he's looking at the Premier League, and I think he wants to wait.
Yeah.
But Sarri would take it in a heartbeat, I think.
Allegri?
Allegri, I don't think so. I think Allegri wants this season off, unless something huge comes. I think Allegri's got his eyes on the Italy job, to be honest. I think he's staying there to put pressure on Spalletti, but I don't see Allegri going to Roma. No. It would be not in the middle of the season. I just don't see that. I think he's taking this season off, and I think he's gonna just take the season off and watch. But I think Sarri would be the smartest decision, because Sarri's been in these situations before. He knows he's a system coach, and he's a structured coach. Roma need structure. Roma need system. They need clear lines. And Sarri, we know, is also turned pragmatic these last few years, where he's able to mitigate for players' weaknesses by adapting to them. He has an identity, but he's also very pragmatic within that, which is, I think, the hallmark of a very good coach in this era. So I would go for Sarri. If he's available. Mancini would be fantastic, but Mancini comes also with his baggage. Mancini, if Roma players are sulking, you throw Roberto Mancini in there.
The one thing that I think Mancini would be good at Roma is, and this is, I actually think this is his best quality. He's a fantastic identifier of talent, and when you have a transfer market and you need to build a team, he's very, very good at building. At squad building. I actually think that in his older days, if he's to retire as a coach, I think he would actually make a really, really good kind of like director, like a even a sporting director, or I mean, he wouldn't take that job. But do you know what I mean? Within the workings of a club, have directing and building. Do you know what I mean? Part of the construction. I think he'd be really, really good at that, and that's something that he would go into Roma and straight away he would say, look. This team is constructed terribly. We need these players. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's very, very good identifier of talent. Even at Italy, when you can't buy players, he still kind of bought Retegui, didn't he? I mean, he's I think so. I mean, Mancini could be good maybe, but I don't know if he'd take it because of the Lazio past. I'm not sure if he would do it. But yeah, the only positive for this game for Roma is Sule scored his first goal, a really nice goal as well, a nice flick. So that hopefully he can build on that now after what's been a pretty miserable start to his Roma career. The other games from the weekend, Bologna, their good form continues. They're starting to pick up now. They beat Lecce 1-0. Orsolini scored the winner. And Lewis Ferguson returned in the second half from his ACL. So that's good news for Bologna. And Fiorentina win yet again. They beat Torino 1-0. That man, Moise Kean, scores. He's now been involved in 9 goals for Fiorentina this season. He's already got 8 goals. Pretty impressive. I think it's a record for him in a single season with a Serie A team, and we're only at the start of November. He's already overtaken his best ever season at Juventus for goal contributions. So I think that's the sign of what a really good signing he's been. And I'll say it once again, I think Juventus made a big mistake getting rid of him. Moise Kean would have been very, very useful for them this season as an alternative to Dusan Vlahovic. But yeah, it's going great for Fiorentina. David De Gea is also statistically the best goalkeeper in the league. So that's another signing. When we were going through the other day, Nima, about all the kind of the great signings that Daniele Paredes made this summer, we didn't mention David De Gea. Well, there's another one.
Yeah, it's all working out. It's all coming together, and Fiorentina are looking really, really solid, which is something that you're not used to saying with Fiorentina, and about Palladino. But the fact of the matter remains that they've only conceded 3 goals. Sorry, in the last 5 games. They've kept a clean sheet in 3 games. They've won all of their 5 games. They conceded once against Milan. They conceded once against Roma. They won both of those games. They battered Roma. They beat Milan. They destroyed Lecce. Didn't concede anything. Won a difficult away game against Torino. Didn't concede, and won against Genoa. So they've got they're in good form. They're in really, really good form. And if you look at the fixture list before the international break, or even after the international break, they got Apoel in the Conference League, they got Verona at home, Como away, Paphos in the Conference League before Inter, and then they got Empoli in the Coppa Italia. And so no, this run could continue for quite a while with Fiorentina, and they're looking solid. They're looking like, it just goes to show that when you have a coach that knows what he's doing, you can actually do something good, and isn't just a possession wanker as Vincenzo Italiano is. But look, it's
Love how you use the word wanker now. Like, I started calling those tactico wankers.
No, well, Italiano's a possession wanker. But I do have a problem with Coyote and Parisi not playing. I don't like it. I don't like that they're not playing. I can't criticize him for it because Gosens and Dodo have been very, very good, but I don't like it. I really don't like it. It annoys me.
I think they're both better players right now. To be honest, it pains me to say that as someone that
me too. And that's on Coyote and that's on Parisi.
Well, I also think that Parisi made a bad career decision moving to Fiorentina. He should never have moved there because because at the time when he moved, Biraghi was already there. The clear leader of the team and the clear left back. So it was a bad move. His agent, badly advised by his agent, bad career move. That's really what messed him up. Not so much Palladino or the manager.
No. I'm not blaming Palladino. Dodo and Gosens are doing great. So you can't complain. But I hope that Coyote and Parisi leave.
Yeah, for sure. The other 3 games on Monday, recording this before that, Empoli, Como, Parma, Genoa, and Lazio Cagliari. And if Lazio win, they will also move on to 22 points. And look how tight it is at the top of the table now. Napoli first with 25 points, Inter second with 24. Then we've got Atalanta and Fiorentina with 22 points. And like I said, Lazio will also move on to 22 points. And then Juventus, who are currently 5th but would move down to 6th if Lazio win, who have 21 points. So the top 6 basically separated by 4 points. And then you've got Milan. You've got Milan on in 7th with 17 points with a game in hand. And if Milan win, they go on to 20 points. So you could have the top 7 separated by 5 points. And it's really, really tight in the race, not just for the Scudetto, but the top 4. And yeah, maybe the race for these positions, certainly the top 4, is going to be maybe tighter than we thought at the beginning of the season, and more teams involved than we thought at the end of the season. It's making for a really, really great Serie A at the moment. It's really great to see.
It really is, and it's even the title race as well. Because I mean, if you look at it, 4 points between 1st and 5th, and if Lazio win, it's 4 points between 1st and 6th. Because if Lazio win, they're all 22, same as Fiorentina and Atalanta. So no, it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting, and I'm happy about this because we need a title race. We need it to be matter all the way into to the death. You know, last 2 years we've had teams run away with it from minute 1, day 1, pretty much. So it's good.
Yeah, it definitely is good. Champions League, let's run down the fixtures for midweek. So we have Bologna against Monaco, Lille against Juventus, Real Madrid against Milan on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have Inter against Arsenal, Stuttgart against Atalanta. So some huge, huge games. Just a rundown. Bologna have to win against Monaco. That's absolute must win. If they don't win that game, I think we can pretty much almost certainly write them off any chance they have of qualifying for the next round. It's going to be difficult, very, very difficult anyway, to be honest with you. But they have to win this game, and I think they might have a chance. They're playing much better now, and they're starting to pick up. And Monaco lost at the weekend as well, so I think they might actually have a chance of getting a win there, possibly. But they have to win that, and I think they'll go for it. Juventus against Lille, that's going to be a very, very difficult game. They beat Real Madrid, of course, Lille, and they're doing really, really well. Yeah, tough game for Juventus. It'll be a good test for them to see kind of where they're at after their really poor performance in the last match against Stuttgart. But Real Madrid Milan is obviously the big game for the neutrals, isn't it? This week. I mean the two of the greatest clubs in the history of European football. Such a classic European Cup, Champions League game. So many great games between these two teams in the past. This is going to be a fascinating match. This is. I think it's the game where Rafael Leao might have something to say.
Yeah, I think you're very right about that because of, like you said, how Real Madrid play and also how open they are, and Leao likes open games and space. So no, I'm with you on that. I think you're right. Leao could be very good there, but equally so, you know, Vini and Mbappe and these guys, they, at home. I think there's going to be fireworks, lots of goals. I think Real Madrid will win, but I think it's going to be a very exciting game. I'm really looking forward to the Wednesday game. Inter Arsenal and Stuttgart Atalanta are the ones I'm finding really fascinating.
I know you've already got some drafts written in Twitter, quoting like some Arsenal accounts that made certain comments last year. I know already. Am I right?
I prefer not to speak. Oh my God!
What is the right? Can you just explain what is this big beef between Inter and Arsenal?
This started. I can't remember which Inter account it was. I think it was Jose Mourinho. His name is something. It was a joke that they started about us. I can't remember what it was. But it was some joke. He made a tweet, and then Arsenal fans got all riled up about it and responded and started talking about when Arsenal beat Inter 5-1. Then someone else, we've gone through this before. It was like a year and a half ago when we went through this on the pod. And then this became a Twitter beef between Arsenal and Inter fans. And so now this has become a thing. And of course, with Declan Rice, and they thinking that Declan Rice is a world class midfielder when he evidently isn't, and comparing him to Barella, which has triggered Inter fans. So this is like I am, and of course, so this is funny. This is really funny. I'm really looking forward to Inter Arsenal.
I think Inter win this game. Arsenal have been really bad in the last
Yeah,
games, and
I'm
they're
disappointed in
decimated
Arsenal.
with injuries as well. Well,
Yeah, they
they're
are, but
getting them back, but they're not. Yeah, they're not in a good shape.
I'm disappointed with Arsenal. I think Arteta needs to take a lot of the blame for this. This was the season they were supposed to win the league. They've been building towards that. I don't think they will now, and it's not good. It's not looking good at all. I mean, the result, they look bad. They look really, really bad, and I'm starting to notice that the patience with Arteta is running out, as it should be. They're 7 points off Liverpool after 10
Mm.
games.
Yeah, they're
I
lucky
mean,
that City lost at the weekend. Otherwise, they would have been
eight
in
points.
big trouble. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not playing well. They're not creating chances. He's gone full terrible now. I mean, I remember the game against Atalanta where they had like an XG of like 0.2 or something in that game, and they are I mean, they look very predictable, very sterile. But then also defensively, that's what you associate with Arteta is having an incredible defence, and they've been the best defence in England, the last 2 years, and they're not looking good defensively either. It's full terrible. Mikel Artetanyahu, as he's been coined on the king of the terrorists. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Inter can win this. I do.
I think
I
Inter
think
can win this
Inter
too,
look
but
good. I would have
look,
preferred Inter to have rested and rotated a few more players against Venezia. That's the only thing that I hope they're not.
I wish he would have rested and rotated Thuram but the rest, I don't think he really had a choice. I think Lautaro, the only way with Lautaro, given that we know he's a patchy goal scorer, you need to like force him into form by
Yeah.
playing him. And again, against Empoli and Venezia, he was invisible, pretty
Well, that's
poor.
my concern, Nima. My concern is that he's looking at the game against Napoli as the game he plays his full team, and he's looking at this Arsenal game as the game where he's going to rotate players. Logically,
I don't think so. No, Çalhanoğlu's going to start. Acerbi's going to start there back from injury. He said so himself. Um,
that's because he wants to bring them back into fitness.
yeah,
But will Lautaro and Thuram both start? I think one of them won't start, and that's already going to weaken them. Do you know what I
I
mean?
don't know.
Frattesi, I think I can see Frattesi maybe starting as well.
No, no, Barella's definitely going to start.
Or maybe he plays Frattesi instead of Mkhitaryan. I don't know. I just think that he's looking at the Napoli game as the game that
well,
he's
as
treating with
he
more
should,
priority, and as a
as he
result,
should.
but as a result, the team's going to be, I think, a little bit rotated.
Yeah, but I got to be honest with you. Leaving aside this social media bullshit between Inter and Arsenal fans, to be honest, I'd take a draw. I don't really care. For me, it's more important to go 2 points clear of Napoli, top of the Serie A, when you go into the international break. That's much, much more important. In this point, at this stage of the season, that's more important. I think Arsenal look at this game as well. Don't lose. I think Inter will do something similar. Basically control kind of game. I don't think it's going to be that exciting. Inter are focused on Napoli on the weekend, and if I'm not mistaken, Arsenal have got Chelsea on the weekend as well afterwards. So both teams are a little bit distracted by the league, and I think they'll probably just play off this game.
And for those that do, we are doing a preview on the Inter versus Arsenal game with former Arsenal striker Alan Smith. We're doing that on Tuesday.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to push that out on Tuesday
Same day.
afternoon.
Same day, as soon as
As soon
possible.
as
As
we
soon as
can.
it's done, as soon as we get it,
Yeah.
we're pushing it out.
So we will preview a little bit of the game with him, ask him some questions, and so there will be a little bit more on that. So check that out. That'll be on all the podcast apps and on YouTube as well. And the final game is Stuttgart against Atalanta, as we said, which is going to be a very fascinating game because Stuttgart absolutely battered Juventus, even though they only won 1-0. And they're obviously
they dominated.
They looked
that
a really,
game.
really good team in that. So yeah, it'll be quite an interesting one, also from Juventus' point of view, to kind of see the difference between Atalanta playing Stuttgart and Juventus playing Stuttgart. Just the comparisons between the two. So I think that's going to be another really good game between two teams that like to attack and two top managers as well. Okay.
But it's funny you mention that because like this Arsenal, because I am like I got lots of friends who are Arsenal fans, and there's been quite a bit of banter, and it's gonna like I think people might be disappointed by the football actually, because this is something that fans have been looking forward to, but I think we might be disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, what do they call Inzaghi? Unfairly, is it Osama bin Zaghi? So it's Osama
Yeah.
bin Zaghi against Mikel Artetanyahu, the battle of the terrorists. Right, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. Baggio, for me, there's only one. It's Gian Piero Gasperini for what he did against Napoli and Antonio Conte. Genius, absolute genius move. One of his great tactical masterclasses of his career for me. I was blown away by that. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's difficult to go against that, but also this past week, Alvaro Morata's back heel mid jump air flick against Napoli was one of the was art. It was art. It was the stuff that Baggio used to do when he played. It was unbelievable.
Well, he needs to start scoring like Baggio did as well right now. He's not scoring enough for Milan, but that was a great moment. Premface of the week. Right, these are both on the same thing. And when I come up with like the Premface stereotype, and it's like every Premface is almost the same. It's examples like I'm about to give you is the reason why. I mean, this is amazing. So it's Tim Sherwood and Paul Merson, who are basically the same person here. So Tim Sherwood is is reacting to the appointment of Ruben Amorim as the new Manchester United manager, right? And he's saying how much he loves him, how much he thinks he's great. And this is his quote, Tim Sherwood. I watched Amorim's team against Arsenal last season. They were great, and they were really unlucky to lose on penalties. Anybody recognise the problem here in what Tim Sherwood said?
They played Porto, not Sporting.
Porto, yeah, who were managed by Sergio Conceição, not by Ruben Amorim. So this is the classic Premface of you're mixing up your teams, you're mixing up your people in your teams, and you just kind of classifying everybody as the same.
But then Paul Merson comes and says, I'll take your mix-up of teams, I'll take that chip, I'll double dip it, because I don't know the player in question as well. And it says, why didn't Man United sound Gyökeres, which is just fantastic pronunciation of Viktor Gyökeres's name. But why didn't Man United sound Gyökeres when he was at Coventry? Now he's at Benfica. He'll come there in open arms, but he's the same player at Benfica as he was as at Coventry. Yeah, he plays for Sporting.
The hilarious thing about the Paul Merson thing is he said Benfica 3 times in that clip. He's on Sky Sports and he's commenting on again Amorim, and he's commenting on.
Why doesn't anyone correct him? No, like seriously?
No, they don't. The presenter, the person that's interviewing him, actually says at the end, and that's a great point. That was his words. But the fact is that, like, sometimes Freudian slips and all that. You can occasionally.
You can misspeak. Everyone can misspeak.
You can say that. You can say the wrong. You might say Gyökeres. But when he was at Benfica, you might have said that by because you were talking about Benfica before and you got it by mistake. But then the second or third time, you wouldn't say Benfica the second and third time. Do you know what I mean? That this is because he actually thinks that Gyökeres plays for Benfica. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, Viktor Gyökeres he's having a fantastic season at Sporting, and he's had 2 fantastic seasons at Sporting. And Amorim, when Amorim was there, he really grew under him. And there's even talk now of Amorim wanting to sign him in January for Manchester United, which I think is a huge mistake. Because I think Viktor Gyökeres, if he's calm and cool, he can go somewhere better instead of the dumpster fire that is Manchester United. I don't want him to piss away his I mean, how many strikers have Manchester United not killed? I mean, if we talk about Vincenzo Italiano, I say that he can kill strikers, but Manchester United are career enders when it comes to strikers.
Not just strikers, pretty much defenders, midfielders, goalkeepers, fans.
It's career ender United. I mean, it's just it's a mess.
And they've made more redundancies than I don't know who over the last year. I mean, they're killing everyone.
When it comes to though a mix of Serie Ass and Premface, I'm starting to think we should have something called the Casanate of the week, because Antonio Cassana was out in fine form, swinging incoherently, word salads, as he always does, the way that only he can do. I'm just going to read you the quote. I'm crazy for midfielders like Gavi and Frankie de Jong. That's why I say Fratesi should play and not Nicolo Barella. For the national team as well as Inter, because the pitch does the talking. But when you have to take out Mkhitaryan and another phenomenal player like Piotr Zielinski, but then you have to take out Mkhitaryan and another phenomenal player, Piotr Zielinski. But in Simone Inzaghi's way of thinking, it's always the same midfield. Çalhanoğlu, Barella, Mkhitaryan. And he doesn't allow Fratesi to compete with Barella, even though he's been doing better since last season. He makes him the 12th man. I think that's a lack of respect for him. The pitch does the talking, and it says Fratesi should play more than Barella. But Barella always does play, and Fratesi is never taken into consideration in the biggest matches. Just be quiet. Like, no. Barella should always play. I don't even know what this guy is talking about.
Well, it's Antonio Cassano. What do you expect?
It's another Casanate. It's a vintage Casanate, and he is Cassano is the Serie Ass combined with a Premface. Wrong, proud to be wrong, but also oblivious to the fact that he's wrong, and doesn't live in this century.
Loud and proud as well.
Loud and proud, stupid, doesn't live in this century, completely tone deaf. He's just, oh my god, yeah. No, Fratesi's not a better footballer than Barella. Like, just no, stop talking. Like, no.
Yeah, that's a fine Serie Ass of the week. And the other one is the Serie A Twitter account. It wouldn't be a Serie Ass of the week without having one of those. So when Artem Dovbyk equalised, the second equaliser for Roma against Verona, they posted posted an image of him apparently celebrating his equaliser. I mean, everybody, you have to see it to believe how bad it is.
It looks like it's a grainy screenshot, from
it's
someone's phone.
Yeah, they've done a grainy blurry screenshot from whoever is the admin from their phone, and it's kind of Dovbyk holding the ball in his hand, sideways to the camera, with his eyes closed. And he looks depressed.
It doesn't look like you're never going to get any engagement from that, because I get that you for rights reasons you can't show the goal, but at least show something of him. They
have got the rights to show the goals.
I don't know. Maybe they've got some contract where because of
they show the goals. They show goals, and they can show what they want. They've got the rights. They can show.
No, I mean like the day after.
They have. They've actually got it. Then they do that. They do show the goals as well. They have the rights to show the goals. But they I mean, it's just I mean, it breaks all the rules of when you're posting an image. You should be should be in the center of the picture for starters. He's kind of he's like near the left of the picture.
The bane of your existence.
They shouldn't be blurry.
Images that are blurry and aren't centralized.
The person
this is literally Carlo's biggest psychotic hatred.
Well, you shouldn't have your eyes closed. You should be. The image should reflect the action. So Dovbyk has just equalised. So it should reflect that he's equalised, that he's happy, or that he's emotional about it. It's an image of him sideways to the camera with his eyes closed, looking depressed. That's blurry. I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is supposed to promote the league. It just looks like amateur hour. If an amateur did that, I would scold them.
It's funny.
If someone did that work experience, I would say you're in the wrong profession. Go and do something else. That's what I would say to them.
Yeah.
And this is the Serie A admin. I mean, it's
hilarious, and it's for me, it's the fact that it's literally someone took a screenshot off their phone and posted it and thought it was fun. Like, that's how it looks like. It's not bespoke. It's nothing. It's so bad, and it feels like. And you know what the funny thing is? It feels like the person who took the screenshot is watching it on like a pirated stream.
Yeah, yes,
That's how grainy the image is, and that's why I was laughing.
And they've done what I do as well. You know, like when I take a photo onto my laptop with my phone.
Of the laptop, yeah. An actual photo of the laptop.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Carlo screenshot. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, let's leave it at that. I was going to go off at
Nah, leave it.
Serie A
Let's
and
not.
One
No,
Football,
fuck it.
but fuck
No,
them, they're
never mind.
wankers.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
leave it
let's
alone.
not
Leave it alone. Yeah, let's leave it.
talk about them and their
Yeah.
promotional event that they held in London.
Leave it. Let's
Which
leave it.
yeah,
Never mind.
yeah, let's leave that.
My favorite part of that was doing a promo in English, but the guy doing the promo spoke Italian. It's just
Yeah.
like, who is the audience, bro?
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
they hold a promotional event in London. Well, anyway, let's leave it. Let's not go there. They're completely incompetent and useless.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Plenty of stuff for you this week. So we will have Tuesday. We will have the interview with Adam Smith on previewing Inter versus Arsenal. Wednesday we'll have the Q&A. Thursday we will have a review of the midweek Champions League matches. So you've got another jam-packed week for you guys. Thank you everybody for listening. We will see you again next time. Ciao, ciao.